It's October 11th, 2025. We've got Jackie live from the English Valley's History Center.
Hello, my name is Jackie Garinger McDermott. I'm going to read you from the diaries of my great aunt, Mary Elizabeth Claypool Wade, who was known as Libby Wade. She is 75 years old in August of 1950. And here is a picture of Aunt Lib with her brother, Henry Claypool. I will read and talk about a few days in the diary and then switch to happenings around the History Center and feature stories. By 1950, Lib is the last person of her generation left alive, except for her sister-in-law, Minnie Claypool, the widow of her brother Werner. My grandmother, Bertha Garinger, was very much looked up to Aunt Lib, especially since her own parents passed away in the 1930s. Sunday, August 6, 1950. Another lovely day. Russell went early. I think he was going alone, maybe down to the Iowa River down at Riverside. The Catholic people were out early this morning. 7 o'clock, I think. My foot still hurts. Hot water seems to help some. Put the camera over for me. Just turn it to me. Russell added a big red dahlia to my bouquet of gladiolas that the Cheneys brought. They are still nice. The dahlia is a big, red, shaggy one. Mary R. gave me the bulb. No letter from Anna. Maybe it will be here tomorrow. I cooked some chicken we had in the refrigerator. Ate some before Russell came. I got his dinner. He was tired, so slept a while. Russell Wade is Lib's youngest son, and she lives in his house with him. He loves to go fishing on his days off. Lib can see her Catholic neighbors and friends either walking or driving to the Catholic church, which is about a block away on Boland Avenue. I went out on the porch and George Moore came. I hadn't seen him for years. He looks a bit thinner, but much as he always did. His daughter Marjorie lives in California. Another one, Georgia, I think her name is, lives in Tennessee. There is Laura and Abby, one in Waterloo, and I believe another one in Cedar Rapids. Both sons live in Cedar Rapids, Wallace and Ronald. George Moore was an old family friend from the Yankee Point area where Lib grew up. He was married to Bess Calvin from North English, who died in 1939, and they raised their 6 children in Cedar Rapids, where George worked for the Rock Island Railroad. His parents were William Wallace Moore, who married Esther Miriam Carter Moore. The Wallaces, Moores, and Claypools came from the same area in Ohio after the Civil War to settle in the Yankee Point area north and east of North English. The Carter family, George Moore's mother's family, was already established at Yankee Point before the Civil War. Maud was up a while. Mary Ann stopped, and Mrs. Bolts came. Russell got 2 fish, so Mrs. Bolts is to eat dinner here tomorrow. Russell went away in the evening. Hattie and Emma R. came over, and also Minnie Zilmer. Mrs. Lockridge is visiting in Troy Mills in Cedar Rapids. Went with her sister, Mrs. Simmons. Hattie's Aunt Jenny went to Moline today. Maud Foster Claypool is married to Lib's nephew, Ray Claypool, and she is also a neighbor and friend. And this is the picture of Maud when she was older, which is how I remember her. The other neighbors Libs mentions today are Mary Kelly Newhouse, 87-year-old Elizabeth or Lizzie Geiger Bolts, Hattie Newberry Killian, Minnie Patterson Zilmer, and Mrs. Lockridge. They often come to sew, visit, or have church meetings at Lib's house. Walter and Jimmy were up a while and visited on the porch. Laverne Wilkerson stopped. Claudia calls him Skirt. Squirt is his nickname. Walter, or Bud Wade, is Lib's grandson, and he lives half a block away with his family. Bud's wife is Frida. And their children are Claudia and Jim Wade. Stop. I can't get it to quit making the pictures go in the thing. Just a second. I had trouble with this one another time. I need to practice with my pictures, I think. Laverne, or Squirt Wilkerson, and my dad, John Francis Gehringer, and Uncle Marvin Gehringer had just enlisted in the Air Force. Here is a picture of Marvin Gehringer, Squirt Wilkerson, and J.B. Miller in Japan. And here's one of Squirt Wilkerson by himself. This would be a good time to mention that Squirt's older brother, Dean Wilkerson, is seeing action in Korea. Sergeant Dean Wilkerson writes his parents, Mr. and Mrs. William Wilkerson, that his plane, a B-29, was shot up on their first mission over North Korean lines. Dean was at a rest camp waiting for the plane to be repaired. August 7th, 1950. Cloudy but cool. I had work to do. Prepared dinner. Had baked fish, potatoes, cream chicken, and some lettuce, and a few things from the refrigerator. Oh yes, we had lemonade too. Mrs. Bolts ate with us. I think she enjoyed it. It is tiresome eating alone. We had a letter from Anna. They don't much think they will come, but not sure yet. We'll know soon if Arlen is called or not. She said Edith Summers Smith had been there with Keith's wife. Edith and her son were there for a short visit. They live in Cedar Rapids. She lived near us several years ago. Anna Wade Cray is Lib's only daughter, and she lives in southern Texas with her husband Richard Cray and their 3 sons. They try to visit Iowa often, but the circumstances of life sometimes don't allow them to come. Arlen Cray is Anna and Richard's middle son, and they believe Arlen will be called into the service soon. I thought Jenny and I might go someplace this PM with Russell's car. But she is busy and tired. Picked blackberries yesterday over at Don and Belva's, and has canned, etc. today. Just another time I get disappointed, but what of it? I'm used to it now. Jenny Wade is Lib's daughter-in-law, married to oldest son, Wayne or Perky Wade. The Blackberries belong to her oldest daughter, Belva, and her husband, and that was her husband, Don Yoss. Mary Ann stopped at the door to tell me her brother-in-law, Earl Moore of Spencer, died yesterday. Had been sick for some time. Someone moving in across the way in the upstairs apartment. Looks rainy this evening. Minnie Zomer said her daughter Ada and husband Bud Evers and their little girl Shirley and Betty Popham were on a trip. Washington, New York, Niagara Falls, etc. Minnie's granddaughter is Shirley, the future wife of Larry Baines, and her friend is Betty, the future wife of Larry Kirkpatrick. August 8th, 1950. Jenny's birthday, 47. This is another nice warm day. Rained a little last night, but not enough. I felt pretty well this morning, so changed my bed and cleaned the rooms. Got dinner, cooked some beets in the pressure cooker. They were large. After dinner, Jenny came and brought the toenail clippers and trimmed my toenails. Feels lots better. Mary Newhouse was here for a while. She's been making pickles too, cucumber pickles. In the PM, Tracy was here. She went to her grandson's wedding last Sunday. Vaughn Geringer and Helen Lois Kephart married at Conroy. He is Carl's second boy. They will live at Conroy with her folks. Tracy Kelly Geringer Wallace was my paternal great-grandmother, who lived down on Smoky Row or East Washington Street. Her three sons are Alva, Carl, and John Geringer. We usually called Vaughn by his first name, which was Ralph. He's the person on the left in this picture. Excuse me, the right. Hattie was here in the evening. Levon Bursler is working at a Man Refrigeration. $1.10 an hour now. Leona still works at the creamery. Hattie Newberry Killian owns a boarding house on Boland Avenue across from the Catholic Church. Her nephew, Levon Bursler, and his bride, Leona Morse Bursler, live in the house with her. And there's Leona. Henrietta and Lowell came over for a while and sat on the porch. Lowell's father is very low, not expected to get any better. He has been sick for a long time. Mrs. Halls told Hattie that her brother and her son Leroy Murphy each got a job at Amana and began work a day or so ago. They employ a lot of help, both men and women. The folks moving in across the way are the Mick Dansdills, Gene Mullins' father. Henrietta and Lowell Churchill live directly across the street. Their daughter is Joanne, the wife of Larry Harris. And here is a picture of Lowell Churchill. He is the third one from the right. Edith Halls is another neighbor, and her son is Leroy Murphy, who later owned the pool hall, or Murphy's Recreation, uptown. And here's a picture of Leroy Murphy, who was also a Japanese prisoner of war during World War II. And here's a picture of Mick and Rethel Dansdale. In later years, they lived in a little house just north of Stroman's Implement in the alley behind Joe and Kathy Stroman's house. August 9th, 1950. Nice and cool, sun shining, so we'll soon warm up. I did not get up till late. Just felt lazy and nothing I had to do. After I had my coffee, I ground some sausage that Stella gave me. It was so coarse, locker grind and no seasoning. I helped it. Then Judy came and brought us some transparent apples. I cooked some for dinner. They are so good. We had a nice visit. She said she helped make a cake before she came down. I asked her how it was made. She had a pretty good idea of what went into it, but not the quantities. Judy Wade was 9 years old in 1950, and she was Lib's youngest grandchild. And she's in the bottom corner of this picture with her parents, Mike and Lena Wade. Russell went to Sigourney after dinner for another shot for arthritis. He thinks it is helping him. I rested a while, and after I got the dishes washed. It is cloudy and warm. May get rain. Molly and Flossie and Barbara came. We sat on the porch. Millard is better. May get to come home in about 2 weeks. Flossie is taking orders for Christmas cards. They are very nice. Molly Cheney Claypool is married to Millard Claypool, who is the son of Lib's late cousin Wallace Claypool. Millard has been hospitalized a long time. Here's a picture of Molly. Their daughter Flossie West has gone back out to live at her parents' farm in the country with her daughter Barbara West. And here's a picture of Flossie. Mrs. Kinnaman and Mrs. Agnew were here a while on the porch. Doris Brown said that Al Smith's baby girl fell out the window and was severely hurt today. Mrs. Kinnaman was a widow of the newspaper editor, and Minnie Agnew was Libby's neighbor to the east. And here's a picture of Minnie Agnew. According to the newspaper, 20-month-old Kathy Smith was looking out the window at 12 fighter jets, and the screen on the window was not latched, and she fell to the ground. She had a broken nose, a brain concussion, and bruises. Lorna stopped a while, then went uptown. The band is playing tonight. Her son Robert is helping on the farm out at Larry and Joanne's. Lorna Reed Harris was another name, and was another neighbor, and the wife of Roy or Shorty Harris, and the mother of my Aunt Joanne Harris Geringer, who just passed away in Texas not long ago. Lorna's only son was Robert Harris, who was 14 years old in 1950, and was working out on the farm with Larry and Joanne Churchill Harris this summer. August 10th, 1950. Mary Regshegger's birthday, 73. I sent her a card. Others are sending too. It was clear and warm a while this forenoon, but clouded over and rainy in the p.m. Russell went to Cedar Rapids today. Mary Regshegger is Lib's friend, who has been very sick and in the hospital this summer, but is better now. Here she is in this picture in the back right corner with her late husband, Fred. Russell often goes to Cedar Rapids to get materials for the home lumber company where he works. Mary Ann stopped a while. Ethel came and cleaned the upstairs and brought some jars from the cellar. And I have lost my page. and sugar and salt from upstairs, etc. I had the apples peeled, and she canned 3 pints. Ethel Lockridge McCarter was 32 years old in 1950. She was the sister of Mae Westfall, Marge Johnston, and Naomi Morrison. She was married to Max McCarter, and they had one daughter, Linda. Ethel is a lot of help to Lib, doing things around the house that Lib can no longer do. Millie came and brought some beets. I cooked and canned them in the PM. Had 5 pints. Lowell is putting coal into his basement today. A good idea, I think. Get it before the rush. Millie Swope Conifer is another friend of Lib's widowed. She's another one of Lib's widowed neighbors. She lives with her own widowed mother, Laura Swope, who was Lib's first school teacher, and Laura is approaching 99 years old. And here's a picture of her daughter, Millie. That's not right. Try that again. I wrote an order for the bread section of the Growing Cookbook, a box top and a dime. I paid Ethel 50 cents. We heard they had a big rain at Iowa City today. None here to speak of. Russell went to Iowa City today for some material for Sid Axmere's house. They didn't have it in Cedar Rapids. A ball game tonight at the park. A lady called me. She was from the Tri-Cities. Rode over for the game, and while her man was changing into his ball suit, she came here. Was very grateful for the accommodation. Russell has gone fishing. I've been reading and crocheting. Pink roses. Elsie Miller was here in the PM and went on down to see Mary R. Elsie Miller is Lib's friend from out east of town where Lib taught school before she was married. And here is Elsie Miller and her husband. And interestingly, that house of Sid Axmere's is still just south of town. And his grandson David and wife Lisa and family live there today. It looks much the same, except Sid didn't have a hot tub and a screened-in porch. I get these pictures to do right. Huh?
Too many of them.
I don't know. Stop. Put the stop on it. Don't get the stop on it quick enough. Last week I showed a picture of Bev Harris. I wanted to re-show the picture today because I nearly dropped the annual when I was trying to show it last week. She was one of our regulars at the Opera House in Watch here with her husband Dick Miller and was a member of the North English class of 1956 who passed away last week. And this is Beverly Harris Miller. This is a reminder that the next alumni luncheon group will meet at 11:30 a.m. at the Main Street Pub and Grub in North English on Monday, October 27th. Please contact Linda Holden Carter or Alice Floring Stramer for reservations. The English Valley's History Center has been operating on Main Street in North English since 2006. The center operates a museum, monthly program, a community coffee shop, and provides meeting spaces for groups and organizations. These include family and class reunions, celebrations, gatherings, and club meetings. The History Center offers all of its services by donations only. It does not have annual memberships like many other historical organizations and relies largely on private and community donations. It is a 501c3 nonprofit organization, and donations are tax deductible. Your support of the History Center would help continue its operations and provide a valuable community asset. Please send donations to the English Valley's History Center, P.O. Box 70, North English, Iowa 52316. The next program at the English Valleys History Center will be on Sunday, October 26th at 2 p.m. It will feature North English's own comic book creator, Phil Hester. Today's feature story is on Lawrence Albert Miller, known to us as Old Doc. Dr. Lawrence Albert Miller Sr. was known as Old Doc to the community of North English. You might remember from our previous stories about Noah Miller, who was the father of Noah Samuel Miller, who started Miller Hardware in North English. When Noah Miller was 29 years old and living out south of North English before the Civil War, his brother was 21-year-old Michael Miller, who lived with him on the farm. The boys were born in Rockingham County, Virginia, and their parents were Michael Miller Sr. and his wife, Mary Sanger Miller. And here's a picture of Michael Miller Sr. Michael Miller Jr. was born in Virginia in 1839 and married Sarah Catherine Stoner. They were the parents of 10 children. And one of the children of Michael and Sarah Miller was Albert Miller, who was born in 1874. These Millers were all members of the English River Church of the Brethren by South English. Albert was a farmer and his wife was Sadie Eder Miller. Their children were Claire Wilbur, Margaret Sadie, who died at age 12, Mildred Petzinger, Florence Hahn Bucher, and Old Doc. Of course, they didn't call him Old Doc yet then. Likely it was Lawrence or L.A. or something like that. You might recognize the name Florence Helen Bucher. Her 2 sons are Russell and Robert. Russell married a woman whose name was Helen Young, and she also became Helen Bucher, who was the longtime home ec teacher at North English. Lawrence Albert Miller was born in 1898 and passed away in 1981. He attended Union School, which was a rural school, and then North English High School, where he graduated in 1915. Dr. Miller got his BA at Mount Morris College in Mount Morris, Illinois, before he came to the University of Iowa to receive his medical degree in 1923. And then he did his internship at the University of Iowa. And here's a picture of Old Doc when he was young. In 1924, Dr. L.A. Miller married Elizabeth Kimmel, who was a nurse, and they made their home in North English, where Dr. Miller started his practice in 1924 as a favor to Dr. Benhart, who was ailing at the time. He started his practice on the 2nd floor of the Hatter Building, sharing space with a dentist, Dr. A.C. Schulenthaler. In later years, doctor and dentist moved to the 1st floor of that building, with his son, Dr. L.A. Miller II, or Young Doc, joining them after he graduated from medical school. Old Doc started off by driving a Model T and had house calls. As was noted in his obituary, these house calls were by car, on foot, by bobsled, by bulldozer, or on horseback. One memorable birth that he attended in our family was my Uncle Robert, or Bob Geringer, who was born in the early spring of 1936. The men of the neighborhood spent much time that very snowy winter digging a path on what is now 310th Street, a gravel north of town, so Old Doc could get to my Grandma Geringer to attend the birth. And Old Doc delivered 3,500 babies in total. One of my friends, Barb Kaufman from Sigourney, remembers that when she was 19 and ready to give birth to her first child, she had her legs propped up on the table and the smoke from Old Doc's pipe was arising above her knees. Old Doc and Elizabeth raised their 3 children in North English. Betty was a nurse who was married to Carl or Tony Knoll, and they operated the local pharmacy. The 3 Knoll children were Christine, Rick, and John. The Miller's only son was Dr. Larry, or Young Doc, who was married to Johnette, or Johnny Chambers, who was also a nurse who worked in the clinic. The 5 Miller children were Jan, Jeff, Joel, Jill, and Jay. The youngest daughter of Old Doc and Elizabeth was Joyce, who was a librarian and was married to Dan Denslow and lived in Alaska with him. After the passing of her husband, Joyce returned to North English with her young daughter, Corey Denslow, to be near her parents. And here's a picture of the Miller family. In the back, Joyce Miller Denslow, then Dr. Larry Miller, then Betty Miller Knoll, in front of Elizabeth Miller and Dr. L.A. Miller, or Old Doc. I must admit I did not know Mrs. Elizabeth Miller, but I have many memories of the Miller Clinic uptown, where Irene Baird was the nurse, and the walls were lined with pictures of patients. The clinic had suckers to hand out if you were brave, and even if you were not brave. I remember young Doc, or Doc Larry, was nice and kind and had a great sense of humor. I remember even just a few years ago that every time Nurse Johnny Miller would see me, even in the grocery store, she would call me honey. I remember the time I jumped off an old barn platform behind Lockridge's, where we ran around barefooted all the time and landed on a broken aspirin bottle. Jim Lockridge scooped me up, wrapped my foot in a towel, stopped to get Mom and another towel to sop up the blood, and brought me into Old Doc. Old Doc told Mom to get out of the room and proceeded to jab a needle straight into it and started stitching my foot. I was laid up most of the summer. I remember when Old Doc came to our house on a house call the first time my sister had a seizure when she was a freshman in high school. We were so grateful he could come to the house. Old Doc kept a record of all the babies he delivered, and I know that my dad, John Francis Geringer, who was born in 1930, was one of them. There is also a memorable story from the North English Centennial Parade in 1954, when young Doc was up on a roof near the clinic taking pictures of the parade, and Old Doc was inside the clinic delivering a baby girl who was born to one of the parade goers from Delta. We have that picture here in the History Center if you want to see of Old Doc up on the roof. Jeff Nadley, who is one of my listeners, tells the story of when his grandmother, Daisy Doherty, ran the telephone office with the old party lines where the operator actually puts the calls through for you. Old Doc would call Daisy and let her know where he was going and when he would be back when he was going out of town, so that if someone needed him, they would know where he was. And here's a picture of Daisy Doherty, the telephone operator, in the center of this picture. Oops. My pictures are going too fast on me. I'm going to have to practice on this some. Getting new technology is great, but there's some learning curve in it too. Both Old Doc and Young Doc were on duty a majority of the time, but Joel Miller remembers one time when Larry and Johnny went on a trip and left his sister in charge of Joel. The older schoolgirls decided that young freshman Joel needed to be initiated, so there was an incident with a bottle of wine where the glass bottle was broken and Joel's hand was badly cut. Since he needed stitches, there was no choice but to go see Old Doc. Joel made up some story about getting cut on metal. Old Doc said that was too bad it wasn't glass, as he could have used Novocaine, but then instead he just sewed him up. Joel said he never lied to Old Doc again. Here is a picture of Susie Alton Lundberg, my friend from the History Center, with Old Doc. In addition to his medical duties, Old Doc Miller led a full life in North English. He was a charter member of the North English Commercial Club that started in 1924, which was the first year he was in business in town. He was on the school board, which was something his son, Dr. Larry Miller, participated in also in later years. Old Doc was a member of the Iowa Medical Society and was its president in 1930. He was also a member of the Knights of Pythias and the Masonic Lodge. Old Doc was so smart, and he had a wonderful sense of humor, which young Doc Larry also inherited. And here's a picture of Carl Hogendorn and Dr. Miller when they presented Old Doc with a clock at the alumni banquet in 1975.
50 years ago.
Old Doc was honored at the 1975 English Valley's alumni banquet, and the plaque that read as follows: "In appreciation of a man who made good in his hometown, we pronounce you our #1 citizen and the leading family doctor in all the land. For 51 years, you have brought life into this world by delivering over 3,000 babies and helping relieve the pain of countless thousands. Dr. Miller, we love you." And here's a picture of Old Doc in his later years. Correspondence. Mark Claypool said, "Jackie, in some of today's pictures and faces were people that I had forgotten. It was a great remembrance. I remember the fire and flames that seemed as tall as skyscrapers when Mom and I watched from afar. Thanks for always triggering a memory for me." And that's talking about the depot fire. Ron Van Berkham said, "Good one." Pam Kavanaugh Shield from Cedar Rapids said, "Great broadcast." Vicki Johnson from California said, "Great broadcast, Jackie. I was not aware of the depot fire. Very interesting. Thank you." Vera Dye said, "I had a great uncle in that nursing home in 1953. Don't know when the nursing home started in town." Our condolences this week to Russ Bucher and family on the loss of his son, Mike Bucher, from the English Valley's class of 1982. Mike was a farmer and did beautiful custom woodwork. His parents, Russ and Helen, and family have been great supporters of the English Valley's History Center. And we also have a picture of the bench that Mike Bucher made to honor Gary Blaylock. We are also interested in learning about historical English Valley's items that you may wish to donate to the History Center. Please contact Dave Jackson. Stop. I can't get to stop. Okay, please contact Dave Jackson, Scott Romine, or any board member to donate. We'll see you next time. Goodbye.
And that's a wrap.